few exceptions, Ambler appears to be a typical working-class Pennsylvania town, with a main street consisting of old houses, shops, restaurants, churches, and banks. Ambler is no more remarkable than any number of nearby towns, and is in fact one of the smaller towns in the region. But Ambler has a unique chapter in its history, one which shaped the town and gave it a sharply contrasting legacy of beautiful architecture and beastly industrial pollution. The western history of the Ambler area began in 1682, when the Harmer family, who were Quakers from England, purchased the land from William Penn. William Harmer built a grist mill on the Wissahickon Creek, and this attracted people to the area. Soon, a village bearing the name Wissahickon emerged, and several additional mills were built. The mills produced flour, lumber, and cloth for the region. Today, all that remains of Ambler's mill era are the streets which bear the names of the old mills. The advent of steam power spelled the end of the 200-year run of the water-powered mills along the Wissahickon. The last one, Haig's Mill, closed in 1887. While steam power brought an end to an era, it opened a dynamic new chapter in Ambler's history. In 1855, the North Penn Railroad came through Wissahickon Village and built a train station there to serve its people and businesses. In 1856, 2 miles south of Wissahickon, there was a terrible head-on collision between two passenger trains. The local residents responded with aid, and most notable among these was a frail Quaker widow named Mary Ambler. Mary proved to be a leader and a compassionate, healing presence in the midst of the disaster. The railroad managers and townspeople were so moved by her efforts that they renamed the train station and post office from Wissahickon to Ambler in her honor. In 1888, the village once known as Wissahickon was officially incorporated as the Borough of Ambler. In 1881, the pharmaceutical company of Keesby and Madison moved their operations from Philadelphia to Ambler. Dr. Richard V. Madison was the company president. He was a talented, driven, egotistical man, and it was his vision, wealth, and willpower that built the company and the town of Ambler along with it. In the 1880s, Madison discovered new ways to capitalize on the insulating properties of the mineral asbestos. This took the company and the town in a new direction of growth and prosperity. The K&M Company began to produce asbestos pipe, building materials, and specialty products for industry. The demand for asbestos products grew, and Madison expanded his production facilities in Ambler to meet the need. By the 1910s, Ambler was known as the asbestos capital of the world. As the K&M Company prospered, Dr. Madison showed a grand passion for architecture and construction. He adopted a company town vision for Ambler. In addition to his extensive industrial facilities, he built homes, streets, parks, water and electrical utilities, an opera house, a church, and a library. In all, he constructed over 400 homes, which were rented to his employees at less than the going rate. These houses were laid out according to the company hierarchy, with specific housing for executives, managers, supervisors, foremen, and laborers. All of the Madison homes are well built with thick stone walls and sturdy woodwork. Most feature Victorian or European-style architectural embellishments. Today, over 80% of the buildings still stand, and they bless Ambler with a unique and beautiful architectural heritage. For the top officials of the Keasbey and Madison Company, Dr. Madison built a row of 8 elaborate Victorian houses known as Lindenwold Terrace that draw admiring visitors to Ambler to this day. For himself, he built a palatial Victorian estate which he named Lindenwold. In addition to this 24-room Victorian mansion, he filled the grounds with 50 acres of lawns and gardens, curving driveways, a 6-acre lake, stone walls, fountains, and statues. The grounds were enclosed with stone walls and elaborate iron gates. In 1912, Madison actually rebuilt the mansion into a castle, inspired by Windsor Castle in England. Perhaps Madison's most poignant building effort was the Trinity Episcopal Church, built starting in 1898 and located across the street from Lindenwold Estate. He dedicated Trinity as a memorial to his only daughter, Esther Victoria, who had died suddenly at the age of 4. Modeled after the cathedrals of Europe, the church featured a fabulous pipe organ, the most ornate stone and woodwork in Ambler, as well as some of the most beautiful stained glass windows seen in all of America. Unfortunately, the original church building was lost to a fire in 1986. In 1926, after 45 years of unprecedented success, Dr. Madison had a growing sense of foreboding about the economy. He announced that the houses on Randolph Avenue would be the last built by K&M. In the aftermath of the 1929 stock market crash, Madison had to step aside and sell his interest in the company. The company houses were sold to private owners. Madison moved out of Lindenwold Castle, and in 1936 he sold the estate to the Catholic Sisters to be used as an orphanage. Dr. Richard V. Madison died November of 1936, only one day after his 85th birthday. In the decades following the K&M era, the factories of Ambler continued to produce asbestos products. The waste byproducts of this manufacturing process, containing cement, asbestos fibers, and other minerals, were piled in mounds on the land between the factories and the Wissahickon Creek. The waste piles eventually covered some 38 acres of land. The mounds became known as the White Mountains of Ambler, and for generations, among other things, the area was used for wintertime sledding. There is no evidence that Dr. Madison was aware of the health risks of asbestos, but by the 1970s, the EPA warnings and regulations regarding asbestos brought an end to its use in building products. Ambler's factories fell into disuse, with final production taking place in the 1980s. The White Mountains became an EPA Superfund cleanup site and were encapsulated in place and surrounded by high barbed wire fences. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, many proposals were put forth to try and reclaim Ambler's former industrial sites. It has been a long and difficult process, fraught with federal regulations, public lawsuits, and expensive and difficult cleanup procedures. Some parcels have been successfully adapted for use by industry and local government, but residential use has proven harder to come by. Finally, in 2008, the abandoned K&M site on South Main Street was demolished to make way for the construction of a townhouse neighborhood. Today, rows of new luxury townhouses are sprouting up and giving the area a renewed vitality. Just a few blocks away, Ambler's most prominent industrial structure, the massive all-brick K&M boiler house, is being prepared for preservation and conversion into a modern office building. Ambler, Pennsylvania is an inviting small town that was born on the banks of the Wissahickon Creek. It matured during the Industrial Revolution and developed a unique identity under the control of Dr. Richard Madison. The town has grown to be diverse and strong enough to overcome the one glaring fault of its youth. Today, just like in 1682, Ambler is a place for hard-working people who do their best each day and have much hope for a bright future.